Are we recording already?
It's recording, yeah.
All right.
It's been recording that whole time.
Those are the outtakes.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool.
All right. What's up, Resilience family? Wanted to try something new. This will be cool. I think what we have here is an opportunity to chat with Joe Ames, obviously winner of the 55-plus division there at the CrossFit Games. And he's a member of our gym, and wanted to be able to give him an opportunity and us an opportunity to talk with him and really just kind of hear his story and how he's, changing things at all, if ever, to get to where he is and accomplishing the things that you are. And, this is, I think, a neat opportunity to just get a little more insight and background on you and see, how you got to be where you are now and kind of future goals, previous goals and all that kind of stuff. So I've got a little list of questions and stuff that will kind of guide us, but we'll go with the flow here a little bit. This is the first time we're doing this, so I think it'll be fun and entertaining. But welcome, Joe Ames.
Thank you, and I'm humbled and honored to be the first guest.
Yeah, this will be cool.
This could be something big someday.
Hopefully, yeah, that's the goal. That's maybe. So we'll see. But I guess the first thing, is, just give me a quick little background of who is Joe Ames. Where'd you come from? Where'd you grow up? That kind of stuff. And, eventually, I guess, how'd you get into CrossFit?
Sure. I'm a local guy. I grew up in Dedham. Went to UMass, so I haven't strayed that far. I've never moved out of the Massachusetts area. I had a long corporate life. I was VP of sales for a company that probably most people know about called 47. We did licensed apparel like baseball, NBA, NHL, NFL, all that stuff, hats, T-shirts. You see the little 47 on the side.
I definitely know that company.
So I was with them from the time they were a little baby company to when I left them about 14 months ago. And now I just do network marketing with a company called Isogenics, and we do protein supplements like protein powders, creatine, BCAAs, that type of stuff.
Nice. And you're married, kids?
Married for almost 30 years.
Congrats.
30 years actually, with 4 kids.
Wow.
My oldest is 24, son, daughter who turns 22 this week, and I have twins that are going off to college.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, next couple of weeks.
Really neat. And what sports and stuff did you play growing up?
Just an average high school athlete.
Yeah, just kind of all-around background, just picking up whatever?
Yeah, I played football, basketball, baseball, track, and then in college, I probably didn't hit my stride, confidence-wise in sports until I was a senior in high school and then into college.
Okay.
And just pick up basketball, that type of stuff. But nothing crazy, nothing that would have let me think that I would have been at CrossFit Games.
Did you grow up going to the gym at all? Or?
Yeah, but probably like most people, you go and you do arms and back and shoulders. Right, never legs. Right, and off and on, you go to the gym for 6 months to a year, and then you'd fall off that wagon, and then you get back into it, and then you get a job, and you get distracted, and never really focused on eating or anything like that. And then I think I was 40 years old, and I tore my ACL playing basketball.
Wow, okay.
And I looked at it like, okay, I'm going to have surgery, I'm going to have to do rehab, and I'm going to use this as an opportunity to start. Everyone back then was talking about core, so I said I'm going to try to get core.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what that looked like, but it was just through PT and whatnot that I started working out on a regular basis. And then when I was 45, someone introduced me to biking. So I started
cycling.
Yeah,
road
cycling. So I did the Pan Mass Challenge.
Oh wow!
And then I started running with guys at work, and I said, well, maybe I'll do a duathlon. So I did.
Biathlon.
Yeah, you just run. It's a run and bike.
Yeah, so 2.
Yeah, it's not the triathlon.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I said, well, maybe I'll learn how to swim. So my big, hairy goal when I was 46 years old was I wanted to compete at Kona in the World Championships for a triathlon when I was 50.
Sure.
That was my big goal.
And why, I guess? So is that just because you view that as those guys are super fit and I want to be super fit at that point? Or what was the challenge?
I was just setting that big goal, and what do I have to do to get there?
Yeah.
And it just, the funny thing about triathlons is if you're not a very strong swimmer, because it starts out with the swim, then it goes to the bike, then it goes to the run. If you're not a strong swimmer, and you get out of the water and there's like 15 bikes left and yours is one of them. Like there's a lot of making up you have to do. So you pedal really hard on the bike and then you toast for the run. So I was always a middle of the pack person, and the biggest try I ever got up to, I never got to the Ironman. I did 2 half Ironmans and about 3 marathons. And it was just
really good.
It was good, but the training just took so much time.
Right, and you started that training at 46, you said?
Yeah, and at 48 is when I kind of gave it up. You know, I was like, it was just too much. I did have 4 kids. They were younger at the time.
How much of your day was that taken out, you know, training wise?
When you're at peak training for a big race like that, it's 23 hours, 24 hours a week.
Yeah.
So I was traveling a ton for work. I had a full-time job, so I'd get up at 4:30 in the morning. I'd run on the treadmill because it was in winter time. I'd swim, and then do something at lunch, then do something after work. Like you always had 2 to 3 opportunities a day to work out. Yeah. So that's where I kind of got into finding pockets of time in my day where I could try to get it done and keep family life at the same time. So it was really a balance that I was playing.
Yeah, but you had that goal, which was ultimately, why you kind of stuck with the regimen and, forced you to get up out of bed that early in the morning and stuff like that. But, it's really cool background to hear it. So, nothing really early on, though. You were just kind of a natural fit-ish guy, right? Just kind of going through, and then until you kind of got to that age is when you started really focusing on athletics a little bit.
And then, the thing about triathlons is it was that much time spent doing those 3 elements, there's no time for this. There's no time for weights and that type of stuff. So my kids would make fun of me. They'd look at my arms and they'd say, "What's going on?" My 17-year-old at the time was saying he had bigger arms than I did. So I was like, okay, that's done. I'm not doing triathlons anymore. And I had looked at CrossFit. Yeah. And I said, well, that looks good. It's an hour. And I found a place that was in between where I worked.
You just naturally saw it on TV or something?
Someone in one of my accounts in Indianapolis was into it. He had lost a lot of weight doing CrossFit. He was super jacked about it. He looked dynamite. And he said, you should try it. So, and that was in 2013, 2012, something like that.
Cool.
And so I said, okay. And that's when I started looking at CrossFit, found a gym, did the elements class. And I remember the first class that I got into was like wall balls, rowing, and rope climb, something like that. And didn't know how to do rope climbs, but I was trying to climb that rope. It was the most exhausting day of my life. And I was in good shape from doing the triathlon. Yeah, right. But it was just a whole different workout.
That's funny. That was one of my first workouts too, had rope climbs in it. And I just remember that shin getting so beat up, but there was no freaking way I was not going to do it, It beat me up pretty bad. And then, learned from then on. I think that's why I like the CrossFit style of training a little bit more, is because they're constant challenges, that present themselves, and whatever movement it is, you're like, all right, set a new goal. I want to tackle this and, try to get better at it. And once you get to a point where you feel comfortable enough with it that you can try to move on to the next thing, whatever it is, double unders or whatever. I guess that's why I got bit by the bug a little bit in the beginning, is that they're just constant challenges that I had never seen before. Right. I was, an athlete too growing up, but had never done any kind of weightlifting or anything, and this is kind of new world to me. But it was fun. That's kind of, we can talk about that another day. But for me, I guess that was what bit me. But then the competitive juices started flowing a little bit for you. Yeah. When 48ish, you said, is when you got introduced to CrossFit.
Yeah, I was 48, and it was real. So I started in May. It was May. Okay. It was May that I started, and it wasn't long after that. The owner of the gym said, "Hey, did you ever think about competing?" And I'm like, relax. You know what I mean? No, I haven't, and I'll get there eventually, but I didn't even know there was a competitive element to it. Yeah. But someone enrolled me in a competition at CrossFit New England in October. Yeah. They enrolled me. Okay. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do it. Yeah. And I was in the 45 to 49-year-old division. Okay. And through 2 events, I was in first place, and I was competing against guys that had gone to the games before. Wow! So they were competitive athletes. I ended up coming in 4th on the day, but I'm like, okay, that was exhausting, but that was pretty cool. That was cool. And that's when I set my sights on the opens for the next year, just to see how I could do. But I was going to be 49, and I ended up coming in 120th, which wasn't horrible.
No.
And then a buddy of mine from the gym made it to the games that year out in California, out in Carson.
Yeah.
And I was traveling for work, and I scheduled my trip so that I could be out in Carson while he was competing. And this is the competitive side of me. So I went there just to see everything.
Yeah.
Like I had every intention of making it the next year. And I just went out to look at, I wanted to see the field. I wanted to see where they warmed up. I wanted to see what they were wearing. I wanted to see what the competition looks like. Because when you look at people online, they look like animals.
Superhumans. Yeah.
Superhumans.
Yep.
And then you see them in person, you're like, really? You know what I mean? So
you might be thinking that.
Well, we're all older. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So, I mean, it's not like I'm sure when I look at Matt Frazier, I say, wow. But when you're looking at older, you know. So I was like, I could do that. So I made it the next year, and it was actually a pretty cool story. I was 20. That we didn't have the qualifiers then. You either made it or you didn't.
Right.
It was top 20. So I was 21, and then someone went away, and now I'm tied for 20th, but I was losing on the tiebreaker to this guy from Russia. And about 4 days later, he just disappeared. So I'm in. So I ended up going, and someone else had dropped out, so I ended up going in as number 19.
Nice. So at 49 or 50?
50.
At 50, okay.
Yeah.
So that was,
that was my first trip to the games.
Nice.
And it's a longer story, but I'll make it quick. I was doing okay.
Yeah.
Holding my own.
Yeah.
But on day 3, I was just annihilated. Like the feeling that you get after your first workout in CrossFit when you have to do 30 thrusters and you can't walk for the next 5 days. That's how I felt on Sunday. And I remember flying home. I ended up finishing 13th overall. Awful last day. I think I had like a last place finish and a 17th place finish. And I was flying home. My wife was sleeping, and I just made this big list. And you talked about the holes, and I said, I have to be able to do 30 thrusters at 95 pounds. I have to be able to snatch this much. I have to be able to do this much for a power clean. Like I had a huge list of things, that double unders, muscle ups I was awful at, like this gigantic list, but at the bottom I had a big star and I put nutrition.
Yeah.
Everybody there was doing something. Like everybody had canisters and bags and eating right, and I was like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
And that was the start of where I am today.
Yeah, that's a big thing. So we'll kind of morph into a little more present day. So obviously you made those trips and had some great experiences prior to just this most recent one. And then we had a little gap, right? You had a year or two that you hadn't been back, and I guess what spurred the extra motivation here to start gearing up for this past attempt, and ultimately I guess I want to get to what was your why? What was the extra motivation for yourself to prove to others, or is there another reason? What led it all, and when did you make that decision?
Yeah.
The Open was way back, in February.
Right.
But was it before then, that you made a decision, or?
I think so. I went last year as a 54-year-old, and that my why that year was I wanted to be the only 54-year-old to go and see how I could do against everybody else, because the age group means a lot. Like it means a lot. The difference between 35 and 39 is tremendous. 40 and 44 is tremendous. Well, it's the same thing with every age group.
Sure.
So, 50 to 54, I thought I was in the best shape of my life when I was 54.
Right.
And I ended up coming in 10th out of 20, which I was happy with given the competition and all that. So my why that year was it was ego and just wanting to go, but also kind of had my eyes on 55, thinking that I might be able to win my second gold. And but there was a family wedding that was happening in Italy. I really wanted to go to that. Yeah. And I had a tough decision to make. And I said to my wife, I said, I have a real good shot at making this. It was her nephew, who I'm close with, and I would have loved to have gone. My wife and my daughter went, and I said, listen, I'm I'm going to try to get to the games again. If I can get there, I'm going to go, and I'm going to win it. Yeah. And she said, okay. And the why was, it was tied to our life as a family. You know, this is what I do for a living is preach healthy nutrition and fitness. And to be on that podium and to have that platform to speak from and really try to tell people, listen, I've been 5 of the last 6 years I'll qualify for the CrossFit Games. There's not a lot of people that can say that. And you know, there's an old saying, right? What about you can't out-train a bad diet.
No,
you can't out-train a bad diet. So that's a great platform for me to talk from that I've been 5 of the last 6 years.
100%.
And I live it every day.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So what then, when you made that decision, Open went through, you did all right, obviously moving on to qualifiers there, and then after qualifiers, after realizing you made it, leading up to the next few months and stuff, was there anything you changed training-wise, obviously nutrition-wise and stuff like that, but we'll start with the training stuff.
It's a good question. So most people don't want to play with their training at all, like especially coming into
something's working.
If something's working, you usually would change things now,
right,
leading into next year. But I had been using CompTrain, I've been following for a couple of years, and they do an unbelievable job. But for me, I had some real shoulder issues going on, and I got an MRI. There was probably some tendonitis going on, but to just follow the same programming that everybody else was doing wasn't speaking to what I had to do in order to rest my shoulder, but still be able to get better in other areas. So I switched to Big Dogs. Laura Thompson had been doing Big Dogs, and I was watching her work out, and I'm like, that's the type of working out I should be doing. It was a lot of strict movements. It wasn't just all out assault on your body every single day, and that's kind of what I was getting on CompTrain, and I was feeling really beat up overall. So I made the switch right before the Opens. Like week 1 of the Opens when I changed, and slowly my shoulder started feeling better. I was fortunate that the workouts didn't bother my shoulder that much.
So Big Dogs, you're working a little more one-on-one.
It's one-on-one. I'm sorry, I should have said that. Yeah.
So you're
working. It's individualized training. And so I'd say to him, my shoulder's banged up. He'd be like, okay, let's do this.
Right.
As opposed
still
to
programming from afar and writing down your programming, and you have relationship over the phone and email and
send videos, show him what my scores were, what my times were. He'd comment on it. I'd comment back. We'd have phone calls every one or 2 weeks. So it was more personalized attention to me and what my goals were.
And his goal, it sounds like, I think from what I was hearing, is to just keep you happy and healthy. That was ultimately because you have so much prior training and conditioning, and for the most part have a lot in the bag already, but wanted to keep you healthy, and feeling good going into training at the games.
Well, that's a good point too. It's like their Big Dog's philosophy is definitely about, it's the long-term approach. Like they want me healthy. You want to talk about a why? My why is I want to be skiing moguls in Aspen when I'm 85 years old.
Hell yeah.
You and I have talked about that before. I don't want to be, just, playing out the game when I'm 75, 80 years old. I want to be in the game. And that's the philosophy of Big Dogs. They don't want to beat you up.
And that's, I think just such a cool message to transpose to everybody here as well. In our gym here at Resilience, I mean, that's certainly my mentality, and certainly what we program for everybody here as well, is the longevity of things. We always say we want to make you guys stronger and healthier for life, not just the next month or next year or whatever your goal is, reach it and then say see you later, or get injured or whatever, push it too much. We got to be in tune with your body, and if you're having that dialogue with a coach all the time about it, and you're building that relationship, that's huge for them to be able to react to that and say, all right, let's do this, let's dial it back here, and let's do this instead. We can still get plenty fit doing other things, So that's huge.
The whiteboard can be a blessing and a curse.
Sure.
It can be cool because it keeps you competitive, and there might be someone in the gym that you have a friendly competition going back and forth, or you want to see a name at the top of the board. But it can also be a curse when you come in and the RX for a deadlift is 250.
Right.
And you're not supposed to be lifting 250.
Yeah.
You know, maybe but you do it just because.
Or maybe your max is like 225, and you're like, oh, I can stretch it a little bit and try.
Right.
You know?
Right, and that's how people get hurt. They try and do things that their body really doesn't want them to do. And I find with the training that I'm doing now, it's functional training. And I went into the games this year, Brooks, and I was like as healthy and as happy as I've ever been going into the games. And every other guy that I talked to, and there were only 10 of us that qualified this year, everybody else is beat up. Like they couldn't wait to take a break. I finished and I was like, okay, take a couple of days off, let's go. Like it wasn't a big deal.
That's awesome. That's pretty huge. And so on the training side, obviously had stuff dialed in there, and then externally, obviously you're in the gym only so many hours. Outside of the gym, you got to take care of yourself as well. And you know, if we've been listening to me talk about the theoretical development of an athlete, right? That triangle that we talk about has 5 levels, and you know, it always starts with nutrition at the bottom. And so I want to give you an opportunity to talk about nutrition and what you've been doing lately, but nutrition, metabolic conditioning, right? Just aerobic conditioning would be the next piece. Gymnastics in the sense of just being able to control your body through space. If we say get in the hollow position, can you engage your abs and glutes and get in that hollow position? Then weightlifting, again, in the sense of just moving external loads, not true weightlifting, right? It could be as simple as a grocery bag or whatever. That's an external load. And then at the top is sport, or you know, what I kind of slash it with is whatever your adventure is. You know, whatever you want to be doing, that's at the top. You know, so if your goal is to ride the Pan Mass Challenge, then you're going to be doing extra, you know, training and stuff to get towards that. But you know, all the other stuff should be the foundation to get you there. Yeah. And so now, you know, I want to talk about, you know, obviously what you've been doing nutritionally and how that's, you know, shaped and changed your life and what's going on.
Well, you know, you talked about the pyramid, and that's Glassman's pyramid of fitness. Yeah. And you're right, that bottom piece says nutrition.
Yeah.
Like that was his intention when he came up with it. Yet you go to any CrossFit gym, I'm not going to say any, but you go to the majority of CrossFit gyms in the country, no one's talking about nutrition.
Yeah.
And I think that CrossFit does an unbelievable job of programming the WOD of the day.
Sure.
But an awful job at what you guys and what everybody's doing, not you guys, but what everybody's doing the other 23 hours of the day is the most important element to it. It changed my life when I learned how to eat right and supplement the right way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Your body just runs that much more efficiently. I think everybody who's been on either one of our nutrition challenges or just focused on whatever for a few week period at least, you just feel that much cleaner, more energized, like your body is just feeling less bloated. I
think what happens on the challenges is people say they're all in. You know, like I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to have chips, I'm not going to have ice cream, and they just like all the things they like that are bad, they push to the side and say I'm not. So they show these unbelievable results, but it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And what I always preach to people is it's small changes in your daily life. Small changes, one at a time, like the 1% rule of training. When you're training, you don't go from 0 to 100. You don't go from deadlifting 0 to deadlifting 325 pounds.
Yeah.
It's a slow build. And I think about nutrition the same way. Like let's see what your day looks like in total. And let's start with, how do we start you out with a healthy breakfast?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Healthy breakfast. And then we get used to that and we say, you know, how much are you drinking? And, you know, and because that's always a big one. And some people are like, I'm only drinking on weekends. Okay, yeah, listen, we all got to live.
Yeah.
But if you're having 4 or 5 beers a night,
you're
going to have to make some changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's, to me, the smallest changes make the biggest difference. Drinking enough water during the day.
That's
can
huge.
Make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, when on the cellular level, nutrition, you know, that's ultimately what this is getting at. On the cellular level, when your body's running that efficiently and able to transport oxygen or energy to the, you know, muscles that we're trying to recruit and use in these workouts or whatever your, again, adventures are and activities and stuff like that, you know, you just feel that much more confident with your body and life really when you're feeling healthy and fit.
Yeah.
And nutrition, you know, certainly has a big factor in there. I mean, even when, you know, you're feeling good in the gym maybe, but you have a shitty eating, you know, night, and you come in the next day and you're just lethargic and sludgy around, you know, you can't perform how you usually are used to. That's directly related to what you did to yourself nutritionally the night before or the day before, or whatever it is. So yeah, it's certainly a big factor, that I think we should all definitely pay a little more attention to.
A lot more attention. I mean, if you're going to spend the money that you do for a CrossFit membership, don't use that as your excuse to go nuts the rest of the day. Yeah. Like, don't think I worked out for an hour, I can afford to do it. Like, no, you can't. Like, you can afford to do it sometimes, but just don't do it all the time. Like I said, there's certain choices that you can make during the day that'll make a huge difference.
Planning makes a big change. If you're planning for that meal to be a little out of whack, then that's one thing. But if you just do it, and like you said, maybe do it, it's only this, the little things, or are you making little steps the other way, like you're saying, leniences versus, I guess, allowances, so anyways, Joe, it culminated in an awesome way. It was really cool to see all the hard work pay off out in Madison this time, and it was really cool to see on top of the podium. You did a great job all weekend long there. Glad we had a good crew to support you. That was fun, and can't say enough about congratulating you.
Thank you.
I think this was hopefully pretty cool for some people to listen into, and we'll hopefully do it again maybe another time.
All right.
All right.
Thanks,
Joe. Congrats again.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good stuff.